Hey, it's Timo, and it is third day of my video diary, and I'm still doing it. I'm kind of surprised. I had to drop my car off at work this morning because even though it's brand new, just bought it in November, it's having a problem with the stereo that's irritating the hell out of me. And so I dropped it off and then went to work and had a super mellow day at work. It was awesome. I didn't do very much. I mean, I did. I got work done and I got a bunch of stuff done, but it was just nice to work at a normal pace rather than at a completely frantic, crazy pace. Yeah, I got off at 4 so that I could go pick up my car because they called me and told me that basically they discovered that it was the volume on my iPod wasn't set high enough. And even though I said it's connected by the dock connector and that's a line level out, volume shouldn't be a factor. I mean, it overrides the volume controls of the iPod and is controlled by the stereo. They were sure that they had found the problem. That made me feel less than confident, and sure enough, when I got to the dealership at Volkswagen, they were like, "Oh yeah, really good news. We discovered that we had to just turn on sound check, and that fixes everything." And he showed me an article out of their knowledge base that showed that, and I was like, that's bullshit, because this thing is dropping out audio. There's clicking and popping like I'm listening to a record, and every once in a while it seems to flip to mono. That is not because soundcheck was turned on my iPod. That's ridiculous. Soundcheck is for making everything the same volume so that old stuff that's quiet can be the same volume as new stuff that's loud. And I'm like, we drove around and I got it to do it, and he kept offering, one excuse after another. He said he was fairly new or whatever. He hadn't encountered this particular problem before, but that the technician hadn't been able to reproduce it. But then as I talked with him more, it seemed like the tech was really busy today and probably spent 5 minutes on it. Sat down in the car, looked up one quick thing, turned sound check on my iPod, listened to it for 2 minutes. It didn't have a problem, and so he considered it fixed. And I was like, okay, I've done a ton of troubleshooting in my life, and I can see where this is going. You guys are basically trying to tell me that you can't reproduce the problem, even though you just drove around with me and heard it happening. Several times you heard it. So now they want me to, I can put music on an SD card and put that SD card into the stereo. They want me to try that to see if I have the same problem. And I was like, well, I don't have that problem with the digital satellite. I don't have that problem with the FM radio, and I don't have that problem with CDs. I only have the problem with the iPod. I've tried different iPods. I've tried different cables. The one thing that their knowledge base said that we should try that hasn't been tried yet is to take my iPod and the cable from my car and put it in another Volkswagen where they know it works properly and see if the problem follows it. Because if it does, then we're obviously dealing with something else here. If it doesn't, then we know it's a problem with the car. And I told the guy, I said, well, I really already kind of know that it's a problem with the car because this exact same iPod and cable worked perfectly in my Jetta that I had up until July when it got totaled. So they want me to go do the SD card thing anyway and then bring the car back during the week when they have a lot of techs there so that somebody can really spend time and take 2 or 3 days and really get it to happen over and over again so they can basically convince Volkswagen to go ahead and allow them to change out the part. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. I was a little frustrated with that when I got home, so I just kind of stayed to myself in my room and, worked on my computer and browsed the internet and kind of did whatever. And yeah, then I had some more of that soup I made yesterday. And I've been relaxing on the couch, watching movies. I don't know, I've been on this kick lately where I've been watching all these movies. On Netflix, I've just been going through, a bunch of movies that I've been meaning to watch for a while. And tonight I watched this movie called Going Down in La La Land. It probably just popped up in Netflix as a recommendation because, I've watched a gajillion gay films in my life, and so it just knows, I guess. And, from the cover of it and the description of it, it's one of those movies, there's a lot of movies like this in, I guess, gay cinema, if you want to call it that, where you sort of look at it and you go, yeah, this is a pretty boy, the storyline is, he moves to Hollywood to become an actor, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this probably is terrible. But yeah, so I watched this Going Down in La La Land, and it's actually really good. I really enjoyed it. It was decently well acted. It didn't really have that sort of bad independent film acting. It was funny. It was interesting. It was a somewhat unique story, and it had kind of a nice ending. A couple of the movies I've been watching lately are either heart-wrenching documentaries or European films with sort of European endings, and you know, where you're not quite sure how to feel. And then there was another one that I watched that was just terrible, and then one that I watched like last night was like just strange, and I was expecting the strangeness to go somewhere, and it ended up ultimately kind of not going anywhere and just sort of being what felt like strange for strange's sake. So I was like, oh, wow, this better be a good movie. And I really enjoyed the ending. Like, it was a nice, happy ending. So anyway, not a lot interesting today, but, you know, certainly nice. Check out Going Down in La La Land. It's on Netflix. It was actually really good. I had a lot of fun watching it. I laughed a lot. So, you know, check it out. There's your January 3rd, 2014. Bye.